Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And tonight we're going to talk about Alone. Be right back with you. Welcome back everybody, and before we get started, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, share with your friends and enemies, and leave a comment down below, because I definitely look forward to hearing what you got to say. Anyway, tonight's we're going to talk about the series Alone. I've watched on and off the past 10 years the American version of the series Alone. And recently I found out there's an Australian version, and I've been watching it over the Labor Day weekend, the Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if it can be really considered alone. The parameters behind it are really difficult. I mean, I would have been surprised if anybody made it to 30 days, but apparently some of the crew, and I've only seen 9 of, I think, of the 12 episodes. But it started off crazy. The rules are crazy. I don't know how the participants aren't your normal participants that you'd see in a lot of these in the American Alone series, and it's just a bit off. It's filmed in Tasmania. And because of the political and social justice rules that they have in Australia, they make it almost impossible for these participants to even survive. They really have to muster some different ways of doing it. They supplanted them into an area that's really rough, lacking in any kind of species that they are allowed to kill, to make food out of. They might as well plotted them on a desert island with nothing, because that's basically what it comes out of. Now, let's talk about the location. The location is in Tasmania, and according to the rules, they're not allowed to. More than half of the animals that they may encounter, they're not allowed to eat. Okay, we're talking because they're all endangered. Okay, so there's a very few that they're allowed to even eat, actually, and there are no small critters because of the because of the endangered critters that are there. They eat up all the small critters. There's no mice, there's no squirrels, this kind of stuff. So what you're finding out, there's I think there's wombats, there's the Tasmanian tiger. And there's another one, a possum, and there's another animal that they have there. They see primarily, but if you have a Tasmanian tiger in the area, then there's no other animals. They basically avoid the area because of they're so afraid of them. They're so aggressive, and they're little bitty things, and they make a lot of noise. Sort of reminds you of the cartoon series growing up, But so they're limited to to fish and to eels. And this place has a good bit of trout and eels, this kind of stuff in the water, but it's such a bad area. It's not easy for them to obtain. Now, some of them do attain fish pretty easily. Some of them are in areas that are not, or they put them in, they draw what area they don't choose their area. It's just drawn for them. They do a draw, and then they get planted into an area. So and they're not allowed to trap using any kind of hair traps or any wire traps or this kind of stuff that can strangulate the animal, because they may capture an endangered species. So they have to build live traps. And so this is really just, it's really just basically tying their hands behind their back, basically saying, okay, you can kill all the deer you want to, but there are no deer there. So it's really they're really forced to stick with what they can capture from the water. Okay, this is a river or a lake area, and it's up in the mountains. So the temperature is just a little bit subtropical, and it's a beautiful area. I would say that, but yeah, it's a bit. It's not the best area to do this series, especially the first year. Although this series was like number one when it showed on television. It aired in Australia, but I think that yeah, they should put it somewhere where the participants have a better chance of survival. And like I said, I was surprised if any of them surpassed 30 days because in the first 6 days they lost 6 people. So there's only 10 people, and now they're at 3 people, and they're just under 30 days. Now, of course, they limited them. They limited it to 10 items that they can take with them. And one lady who's actually doing pretty well, she didn't even take a sleep bag. She took a really big possum fur coat that a friend of hers made for her. So she brought that. It's quite long, quite big. So, but to give you an idea of the participants, there are 3 women, and they are all environmentalists. Of the men, 2 were soldiers, 1 was an infantryman, the other was a pilot, and the rest of the men were either environmentalists or something similar to that. They all do this kind of stuff, so they know what plants are out there. They know, but they're not allowed to have any mushrooms because there's so many poisonous ones. They're not allowed to even eat mushrooms while they're there. So they have a lot of limits on them. Okay. But they have these expertise, and it's not in survival. It's basically just what's out there, not really survival. So they're able to identify all the animals that they capture, but they're not in the fauna, but they're not able to eat everything that they capture. So I think it's a bit of a bummer for the show because, like I said, I enjoy watching the North American version, and I heard Sweden has one. I like to see that one, but the North American version, they've done it on other continents also. And it really adds to the drama, I would say, but also adds to what can the participants do? What can they accomplish? How can they, who can do well and who doesn't? Because, it's primarily a mind game. And it's a psychological game, but it's also capabilities. What do you know? And let's see, the 2 men, one's who was a former infantryman. He's basically... he goes into the outdoors and hunts. Actually, there are 3 men. There are 3 men who were not. Let's see, one of them. Yeah, one was a professional hunter, and he quit like the second day. The second day I think he quit. He just couldn't handle it, and they all give you excuses. Well, I got out here and I realized that what, I got it better at the house than I do here. Of course you do. Of course you do. You get all the comforts in the world at the house. You got your family, this kind of stuff. The soldier, the infantryman, Australian infantryman, he gave up after, I think, 6 days, 5 days, like that. But he was really just talking nonstop about his problems with PTSD. And his emotions were going in so many different directions. He has some mental problems with anxiety and with depression. And he was going all the extremes, this kind of stuff, and he was screaming out and crying and this kind of stuff. Really just probably should not have been on this program. But at the same time, the program seems to be pushing this environmentalistic, all this kind of stuff. It's pushing this environmentalism so hard and so heavy, These are people who aren't used to catching food at all. You have the hunter who was, but because he just couldn't find anything, he just gave up after 2 days. Okay? And all of his kit got wet because only one person out there that I've seen, that was the pilot, who knew how to put up a shelter. The rest of them, when you saw their shelters, it was quite ridiculous, But he built a really good shelter actually out there. And his biggest fear is being able, because it took him a long time to start catching food, and he figured it out. Fishing was the best way to go. Even though he was trying to trap with not with snare trapping, but with these with net trapping, this kind of stuff, animals, and they get 2 trail cameras that they can use, which is quite interesting. I don't remember if the North American participants get this kind of stuff, but they're not allowed to have any kind of shooting weapons. I mean, they're not allowed to have a bow and arrow. So which is quite a pity. But then again, there's no large game there, and there's no real predators there. I mean, there may be snakes there, but I haven't seen any in the 9 episodes that I've seen already so far in this part. Remember, this Tasmania. This is really very close to the southern. This is in the southern hemisphere, very close. It was really interesting because one of them was shooting a compass, and his north was basically our south. So it was really interesting how the compasses were using in a completely different direction down there, and so their red line, the red arrow was pointing south. So that's what they used when they were doing. They were using it to do any kind of navigation, that kind of stuff. I thought it was quite interesting. The guy with the pilot, he built a kayak. Actually, he's been using it to travel up and down the river a little bit, and trying to fish. But he is becoming better at fishing, I would say. The lady who has the fur possum coat, so far from what I've seen it by number 9, she's the last one in. There's 2 males and her. Really, something else, they pushed the LGBT topic also. There were 2 ladies that were married with children, which I've got no problem with that, but pushing it, they're really just, getting it out there in your face that they're married, that they have relationships, this kind of stuff. And the other ones, they didn't do so much. I mean, they talk a little bit about them, but you see a lot less of their family than you do these 2 women. This other woman who's still in there with the possum, she's single, was married, but they had lost their little girl after, I don't know how many months old she was or how many years old she was, and to cancer, and it was pretty sad. That's a pretty sad story. And there are some sad stories coming out of this also, which is a bit which is tough to watch, but in general, I just don't find it to be that interesting of a program because of the markers that they've set, and just how hard they've made it for these people. I mean, they might, like I said, they might as well put them in an empty supermarket, and told them that you can drink all the milk, or that you want to, or the only thing they can, they got a supermarket full of meat, but they're not allowed to eat any meat. It's really just, yeah, it's, like I said, the Australians have really screwed up a good thing. I thought. I'm a bit of a fan of the Alone series. You see a lot of things, and what's interesting from someone from our perspective who are not on the series and not going on the series, I have no huge aspirations of going. I mean, I think it would be interesting to do, but if you really want to do it, you could do it yourself. I mean, you can just tell your buddy, say, "Listen, I'm going to go out and film myself." To see how long I can survive with just 10 items in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to film myself, and we're going to make a video for YouTube and see how it works out. I think you could probably do that, and until probably the producers of Alone found out about it and they got you for doing it, trying to make money off of it, you'd probably do okay. But like I said, they don't allow you to take, now of course in the States they don't allow you to take guns, but you can take a bow and arrow and a certain amount of arrows with you. Now, if you imagine you have someone who knows how to make arrows, they can make all the arrows they want to all day. So, or someone who knows how to make a bow, a primitive bow, they can make a primitive bow. So that's be one thing they don't have to have. Like, it goes back to my perception that the more you have here, the less you got to have behind you, the less you got to have in your backpack. So, the more, I guess the more primitive stuff, the better you'd be off. You'd be. I mean, especially when it comes to making shelter, when it comes to hunting and fishing, and when you see people who are hunters, who do hunting and fishing, they're the ones who have a much better chance. I felt of doing well in these programs, and less the environmentalist. Look, I want to save endangered species as much as the next person, but if you're truly in a survival situation, you're going to eat what you find. I mean, and you're not going to worry about the rest. I mean, although I can imagine someone getting in a situation where they're starving to death out in the middle of nowhere, eating something that they shouldn't be eating, and the Australian government finding out about it and then arrested them and fining them for doing it in the long run. So that's just what I see. But anyway, try to watch it. I've been watching it online. It's been out a while, I think, now. Because I'm still waiting for the next 3 series episodes to come out and check them out. But yeah, it's interesting, and I suggest you try to watch it. You know, I'm looking forward to I guess season 10 or whatever it is of Alone in North America. I think it's going to be really interesting. I don't know where they're going to be filming. They were filmed in I think it was Mongolia the last time I saw, and that was the 100-day challenge. And the gentleman who won that, he really was an outdoorsman, and he knew his stuff, and he was able to really just to make it to the end on his grit and his knowledge. So there you go. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share with your friends and enemies. You know, if you got a Facebook Facebook page, you can easily share my channel on that. And have a look at my website, helvetiabushcraft.ch. I'll leave information down below. And but let me know what you think about this whole Alone series. And if you've seen the Australian version, let me know what your perception of it is. And maybe I'm wrong. Tell me. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you all have a good evening. And I also hope that you had a good Memorial Day. And remember what Memorial Day is about. It's not about getting out there and cooking up barbecue and hot dogs, but it's about remembering those who have lost their lives in war, not only just for our country, but for all countries. I was married into a German family for 20 years, and my father-in-law's father lost his life fighting against the Russians in World War II. And my father-in-law used to watch the American bombers take their turn north over Würzburg, Germany, heading towards Schweinfurt to knock out the plants up there. And he would see planes falling out of the sky. He would see lots of flak, and he would see parachutes, this kind of stuff. And he was 8 years old in the fields with the cows. So anyway, I hope you all have a good night, and I'll talk to you very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.